Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. The Richmond Board of Education acknowledges and thanks the First Peoples of the Hunkaminam language group on whose traditional and unceded territories we teach, learn, and live. Once again, welcome. I see we have a delegation of students here. We're looking forward to your presentation. Let's see, we have some announcements. Who has an announcement to read? Mr. Yang?
Thank you, Chairperson. Earth Day, observed annually on April 22nd, is a global event dedicated to environmental protection. Since its inception in 1970, it has grown into a worldwide movement advocating for a healthier, more sustainable planet. The 2025 theme, Our Power, Our Planet, highlights the connection between climate action and clean energy, and emphasizing the role of individuals and communities in driving meaningful environmental change. Across our district, schools will participate in a variety of classroom and school-wide activities to mark Earth Day. Many green teams, led by students, are spearheading environmental initiatives that promote sustainability. Anderson Elementary is hosting a 2-day celebration at Garden City Park, bringing together community partners and educators to connect students with nature through Miyawaki Forest, Pocket Forest, and place-based learning experiences. Earth Day aligns with Strategic Plan Priority 1, Inspired Learners, emphasizing student engagement in global citizenship and environmental responsibility. Beyond April 22nd, our schools continue to foster environmental awareness and action throughout the year, demonstrating our commitment to a sustainable future today and every day.
Thank you, Trustee Yang. Trustee Belisa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Briefs regarding the 2025-2026 annual budget will be accepted without prior notice at the April 23, 2025 regular meeting of the board. Please note that the budget updates will be made available on the district budget website. All budget feedback will be considered by the board as part of the budget process, which is anticipated to be completed by May 21, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Belisa. Trustee Larson.
Good evening. April is Sikh Heritage Month in Canada, a time to recognize and celebrate the rich history, culture, and contributions of Sikh Canadians. Sikh values of equality, service, and justice have positively shaped our communities and schools. This month provides an opportunity to deepen our understanding of Sikh heritage and foster inclusivity and respect for all. We extend our appreciation to Sikh students, staff, and families for their invaluable contributions to our district. Let us all take this time to learn, reflect, and celebrate the vibrant Sikh community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Secretary Treasurer Wang, is there any materials that are not included in the packages available to the public?
Yeah, Chairperson, all relevant information has been published on the district's website. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 2, adoption of agenda. Trustees, is there anything that we need to add to the agenda? Not seeing anything. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Trustee Yang and seconded by Trustee Belisa. All in favor? Great, thank you. All right, this could be the highlight of the night here. We have our presentations, briefs, and special recognitions, but we're looking at presentations first. Yeah.
Sorry, Liz Bowerstock, and my understanding is that I could present a brief at any time, even at this meeting, but I'm going to request that rather than speak to it at this time, that I speak to it later in the meeting after, in the second questions from the public, if that would be okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to presentations. Does someone want to lead the way with the presentation?
I'm happy to do the executive.
Oh, why the? Okay, so the presentation is, okay, sorry, I was looking at presentation by standalone. All right, there are no, here, presentation briefs or special recognition. So we're gonna move forward, and then we had question period. That's why Liz came up here. It's all sinking into me eventually. All right, I'm always the last one to know, but. Okay, executive report.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone, trustees, and of course, the highlight always is having our students in the boardroom, and we have some student leaders in the boardroom, but we'll get to that momentarily. I mentioned last board meeting, and of course, that is also relevant to tonight's board meeting. How quickly the school year is progressing. Certainly, this week, we have a few more days before we transition to the spring break. I know that students and staff are looking forward to the break. There continues to be a lot of activity happening across our district, and I know that I say this often, but it is true. Really, truly grateful for the individuals in our district who will continually dedicate their time and the work that happens in our district, given the size of our district and the students we serve. The reason why the Richmond School District, it's a leading district in this province is because of the dedication and care of everyone who works in this organization. And for that, we can all be proud. The strategic plan, as the board is aware, certainly the board's direction guides the work of the district. Tonight, you'll hear from staff as we do each quarter. The quarterly report will highlight the progress specific to strategic priorities 4 and 5. And by providing these quarterly updates to the board, it's a way to demonstrate, to show evidence of the progress that we are making as a district, and certainly also to highlight areas that require further attention. Regarding the engagement process for the 2025-2030 strategic plan, I'm also pleased to report to the board that in addition to receiving feedback, that we've received quite robust feedback through the online survey, but that consultation also continues with our partner groups. And I'm grateful to all our partner groups for really participating and providing some really concrete feedback, and certainly looking forward to obviously incorporating those feedback. I know that a number of those partner group sessions have taken place, and want to commend the RODPA and all the partners for that matter. I know that today our maps, we've had RASO, I believe, RTA is coming up and so on. So we are really quite pleased that, and I know the board places a lot of premium in hearing from our partners, and that very positive relationship that continues to guide our work. I'm also pleased to confirm that the community in April and May, we have those 4 community open houses that is open to the public, open to staff, parents, everyone, and members of the public. That's open to everyone, and that's again another opportunity to really hear from our community in terms of the work, the areas we need to prioritize, but also to be open to honest, transparent feedback, which some of that is also reflected in sort of the preliminary survey entries, what the district is doing well, and areas where the board should and the district should focus in terms of areas for additional improvement. So certainly that process it's unfolding. As I started earlier tonight, we have student leaders in the boardroom. You probably recognize their faces from the Student Voice Forum when they walked in, bright in the boardroom. And certainly here with all the staff leads who tend to sit quietly back there, but we'll just continually do this good work. And of course, as the board is well aware, student voice is as critical to the work that we do in our organization. And it pleases me greatly when I hear about the opportunities that exist in our schools for students to inform actions in schools that supports their work. And I know that as part of our engagement process for the 25-20-30 strategic plan, that there's also opportunities at each school in our district. So every school to have students also participate in that process. And certainly that's a critical piece. At this time, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Assistant Superintendent Bronigan, to introduce, to take it from here. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Yusi. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, several students from 4 secondary schools, as well as our district staff, are here to share about student voice initiatives that contribute to building more inclusive spaces for everyone. Student voice is highlighted in Strategic Priority 5, a connected learning community, which you will also hear about tonight in the quarterly update later in the agenda. So joining us this evening are students Kyra Young and Chanpreet Banwar from Canby Secondary, Kyra V. Mollier from Boyd Secondary, Luke Shu from Richmond Secondary, and Anais Dekani from Palmer Secondary, along with our district staff who support the Student Voice Initiatives, Liz Hayes-Brown, Director of Instruction for Equity and Inclusive Learning, Navshina Savory, District Administrator, Equity, Inclusion, and Indigenous Success, Connie Easton, a teacher consultant for social emotional learning, and Baron Sui, teacher consultant for diversity, equity, and inclusion. During this presentation, the students are going to be highlighting the 3 main initiatives that provide student opportunities to engage in student voice across the district within this year's theme of belonging. And those are Table 38, President's Council, and the Student Voice Forum. And now over to our students.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Chanpreet Banwar.
My name is Kyra V. Mullier. I'm Kira Young.
I'm Anas Dekani.
I don't even know if this works, but my name is Luke Shu.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are leaders from our different student councils, and today we're here to share about student initiative and student leadership that we're all involved in and we're super proud of as well.
All right, so I'll be touching a little bit on President's Council meetings. So through the President's Council meetings, we're dedicated to making sure our schools are more inclusive, welcoming, and just overall a more positive space. We bring together student leaders from across the Richmond schools, and we collaborate, share ideas, and discuss ways to improve our school environments. So our key focus, as it was mentioned, is belonging this year. And we try to make sure that we can find new ways to make sure that our students have a sense of belonging in our schools, no matter their background, identity, or even their interests. So we are able to voice concerns, propose solutions, and create meaningful change within our schools, as we believe that every student deserves a voice and they deserve to have that voice out loud, and they're able to get their ideas out there as well. So we're able to just discuss ideas, connect with each other. And you know what, there's always those times when other schools have these crazy ideas that we're not able to think about, and we're able to come together and connect and learn new things.
So I'll be talking a little bit about Table 38 and why it has such a positive impact on our student body. So a little bit about Table 38, 2 student council teams from the Richmond district come together and create an event based on our theme that is determined at the beginning of the year. So as mentioned before, our theme this year is belonging in our school community. And although this sounds a little bit like our President's Council, the difference is that we encourage students from various clubs in our school to come so that we don't only hear voices of leadership students, but of students from all around our student body. And one thing that I really like about our Table 38 is that we have 5 every single year, and that each team is able to interpret our theme a little differently. So for example, a couple months ago, Boyd and McMath came together, and to us, belonging is how we are represented in our school. So we took the idea of our school mascots and how Boyd went from being Trojans to Hawks. And now as Hawks, we are able to represent our diversity in our school community. In our most recent Table 38, we talked about how food sources are very important for our students and that they feel very included and feel like they belong when they're able to have these options for food. So again, for Table 38, our biggest goal is to learn and acknowledge the steps that we can take as students to build belonging and identity in our school. All right, thank you so much, Champreet and Kyrvi. So I'm going to talk about the next very exciting topic. So annually, hundreds of students will gather together for Student Voice Forum. This is an event for students to influence the future of education. So what does this event involve? This event involves a keynote speaker, and the keynote speaker will share and create activities surrounding a core theme. So for example, belonging, diversity, whatever it may be each year. There are also education camps. So these are guided discussion groups that talk about specific topics. This can include safe spaces, technology, mental health and well-being, and student voice. So above you can see a little bit of the sign-up process that students will go through and how they sign up for different things. Something else that's super exciting about the Student Voice Forum is you have student leaders that lead it. So we were all part of the student leadership team that helped plan the Student Voice Forum for this year. And so we had students lead energizer activities, and there was also food involved, and this is a full day event. So Student Voice Forum is a fantastic event, and beyond an event, it's a call to embed student insight into the future of the education experience. It's really a super lovely event, and it connects the district together. It allows students to connect with peers, staff from different schools, district staff, and trustees such as yourselves. But no worries if you were unable to attend this year. Now I would like to introduce Anas and Luke.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anas, and I, alongside Luke here, are here to introduce the Student Voice Forum recap video. So during the Student Voice Forum, we had a really talented videographer, Greg, come by, and basically he was able to go all around the event and just like truly capture what student voice is. So I really feel like he was able to give everybody a voice in the Student Voice Forum, and really showcase that the Student Voice Forum is like not just an event, but it's a gathering of students like with such bright minds, and it just gave everyone a really good chance to speak their mind.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the filming process. So a day before the event, all of us together, I think there was about 12 of us, us including us here, we all went together to Coachella Golf Course, which is the venue this year. And like Anas introduced Greg, he had his like camera, he was behind all of our shoulders, and he was like kind of videoing us setting up the venue. Like he'd be like, you know, we put pencils into the box, and he's like, oh, could you do that one more time? So we had a lot of fun trying to set up the entire venue, working with him. And near the end of that setup night, we actually all got interviewed, and he ended up coming up with a film that he put together. I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so we'll get ready to watch it in a second. Yeah.
So when we host the Student Voice Forum, there's going to be so many different people, and it's going to hopefully create a comfortable and safe space for them to come and share their stories and their voices, just to really understand each other outside of an academic setting.
One of the best things about putting together an event like this is having a student committee who really provide mentorship amongst each other, and also provide some real guidance for the adults that are helping to make sure that we do it in a way that's engaging, that's fun, and relevant to their peers.
The theme for this year's Student Voice Forum is belonging. We set up some of the fun games that we are going to be posting, and a lot of it is for students to connect in group discussion. We have provided prompts so they're able to connect on various topics, as well as play fun games such as Human Bingo.
We want Student Voice Forum to feel like a place where everybody is accepted. We want people to take that into their own schools and be inspired to make their own schools a place of acceptance and diversity. Even if it's not like something huge, if they could just take anything away from our presentation and try to bring that back to their own school and their own communities.
Wait, what was the question again? What does it mean to belong?
Like when I personally fit in, it's with my friend group.
The student can really show the real colors of their personality. They're not afraid to be loud. They're not afraid to make strides. They can truly be themselves, which is really important.
It feels like much more vibrant. I think that when a student truly belongs at a school, they show more appreciation and love to their fellow classmates.
It's really valuable to hear other people's feelings and consider what they're going through instead of just thinking about yourself and judging them first.
And I think it definitely helps build skills that they can apply in the real world after they graduate.
To belong, to have a good group of friends.
This year's Student Voice Forum's theme is Belonging Through Stories. A wonderful keynote speaker, Gayatri Shukla, has developed and engages students in a framework of sharing stories. And it's our hope that students will engage in sharing and hearing each other's authentic stories so that it builds a sense of belonging. Before we can actually teach kids, we need to connect with kids, and that comes down to a sense of belonging. So belonging is fundamental for student success, and having a sense of belonging is something we really want to put some energy into to make sure our schools are places where kids feel like they're always welcome, and if they feel that sense of welcome, sense of safety, we know that their learning will also flourish.
At the forum, students get the opportunity to explore so many relevant themes and topics that they get to offer their opinion on.
So talking to our principals, perhaps setting up new policies in our own schools, being able to take something back and make something out of it.
And it makes me feel like there are actually people that care about what I have to say as a young person. And when I bring my concerns to the table, there's someone that's going to be doing something about it and actually listening to my concerns.
So I'd say that the Student Voice Forum is a place where students get to voice their opinions, talk to a lot of different people, teachers, trustees, and there's a lot of different people that they end up getting to meet at the Student Voice Forum. And I think it's just a great opportunity for everybody to come together and share what they know, share what they want to talk about, share what they're thinking of. It's just a really positive place and a positive environment for us to talk.
Well, thank you for allowing us to speak before you guys. So we really just want to share out loud our leadership and our passion for making this district a place that amplifies all types of voices. So thank you for having us today.
Hey, put. We're down a couple trustees tonight, and I'm sure they would have loved to have been here, but trustees, do we have any questions for our panel? Trustee Bonnie?
Yeah, well, not really a question. I just wanted to say some of us, I think a lot of us attended the Student Voice Forum. We were there, and it was amazing. And you guys did such a great job, especially with the keynote speaker that focused on stories of belonging and brought up questions, because I had a great conversation at my table with a student, and she talked about a special friend that when she moved to Canada and she met another friend that was kind of, I think, from the same place as her. They became friends, and how she felt really welcomed in Canada, and that she's kept track of this person ever since. But the other student moved to Dubai, and so she's hoping that's her dream, is after she graduates that she'll get to see this person again. And without those stories that we were telling, we wouldn't know each other. And it was really good. I loved the table conversation, and I just found it very inspiring and exciting. Lots of energy in the room. So, but thank you for coming and sharing that. I love the video too. Thank you.
See, Larson, did you have?
Thank you very much. I was lucky enough to be there that day, and I particularly loved, even from another Student Voice celebration, are those little icebreaker cubes. They're fantastic. I bought them and have them at home for my grandchildren. They're fun, but they also open up an opportunity to start conversation, which you don't even realize that's happening. It's such a responsibility to have the voice of the students of your school. And I was just curious, when you have, say, people that are very quiet, very unsure of themselves, not that confident, how do you have ways where you support each other in your own schools, with schools when you come together, as to how you can draw out some of their questions or comments that they want to make? Is it something like that that you would work together to come up with something?
Yeah, absolutely. I bet my partners here can speak on more about student council. But as for the Student Voice Forum, and thank you for your question, by the way that it was run is we had about 10 to 15 students from each school, grades 8 to 12, chosen by their principal, people who are more like quiet leaders. You know, there's different types of leaders in their schools, some that are more extroverted and may step out on their own, but there's also a lot of people, like you mentioned, that are curious and have opinions and questions of their own. And so this event was really an opportunity where they got to come out and connect with other people.
I can say that a lot of the events that we do, the point of it is to kind of figure out a solution for these problems. We constantly talk about what do we do about the students who don't want to come out to all of our student council events or speak up? How can we make it more comfortable? So I think that's just an ongoing discussion that we're constantly having and definitely trying to solve.
Thank you for that. That fills my heart because there's a lot of, not just kids out there, but there's a lot of adults out there that are the same way. And that's wonderful that you're coming together, talking about it and trying to figure out those ways. That's true leadership to me. Thank you.
Trustee Yang.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Want to really thank the five of you for being here today. It's no small feat to present to the board. Maybe you're used to it. Maybe it's just run of the mills. So very excellent job. I want to say that, you know, this is all, you know, student voices, all the reason why student voice is important. You know, we're, as trustees, we're flying at 30,000 feet in terms of the knowledge of our school district. I mean, important role as well, but, you know, we don't get to see that day-to-day experience like all of you do. So it's just really important as we think about board governance and how do we capture that, you know, voices from the ground. You know, student voice is one of many ways, and really, there was a point that was made in the video about young voices being taken seriously and being valued, and that was something that you reflected on as part of that video. And you know, I think that's a very important piece, that an idea that you brought up. So I want to commend you for that. Now, I did have a question from a former student council president to current ones. You know, your presentation, sir, you know, center around belongingness, and that's certainly, you know, a big part of what we need to address as we come out of a crazy pandemic. But you know, what are some bigger issues in general that students are also talking about? I don't know if the five of you want to chime in.
Well, last President's Council meeting that we had, a big discussion for Canby specifically was participation. It may not exactly be look the same in every single school, but for example, in Canby, we have a much smaller population in comparison to schools such as Houston, London, maybe with 1,200 students, right? So for us, it's working together to use different strategies like word of mouth, social media marketing, the PA announcements, to really amp up the participation. I think that's an ongoing discussion for our school specifically. Yeah. Is there anything that you guys want to add?
Just adding to what Kira just said, participation is definitely like a big problem at my school as well. Ever since the pandemic happened, a lot of people are feeling less confident to come to events and stuff. So just as like a sort of way to give people a chance, we try to have a lot more events more frequently. And we try to have a large variety of events as well, just so that like different student bodies are able to find events that they feel comfortable attending. And if they enjoy one event, then it's more likely that they'd be willing to attend more.
Yeah, maybe I'll quickly speak about this as well. So I go to Richmond High. It's a much larger school, I guess, in comparison. Our graduating class is 330 students. But our events typically, you know, we've went down in participation a little bit as well. But I think we really want to focus on, you know, the relationship between students and you know, like how they feel between their peers. Because I think a lot of times the reason why we go to events is because our friends go as well, right? And that's something that we've been trying to target or figure out, like how to get like everybody to want to go to these events because their friends are there, right? And we've been trying to focus on trying to leverage that a little bit more.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Trustee Beliza?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very glad, for the opportunity to strengthen and, the involvement of student voices in our district. Thankful from you guys being the leader. One of our, I think, motto is the students where they could live and lead, in the district. And the focus is on you guys. And I would like to thank the staff and the leaders of our student, in our district for having this greater job. And I'd like to know if there is any area in terms of leadership training, skills, and development where you could enhance even greater hope for student voices in terms of mandate, structure, and representation. I've heard so much about being appointed. Would it be nice if, I guess, where the student could be voted by the students, for the students, and by the students? Think along that line where you could even more express yourselves for a greater voice in our district. So I'd like to pose that question. What do you think about it?
I think, again, as we were talking earlier, one of our biggest issues is that not everyone is comfortable enough to speak up, or they don't feel like they are represented in our school because we just haven't heard their point of view. And one thing that I found very helpful is 2 years ago at Boyd, we had a Breaking Down the Walls event where we had a guest speaker come and talk about why it's so important to know each other's stories before we judge them or before we create a point of view on them. And so one thing that I've been working as a leader in my school is to start implementing more of these type of events into our school, just because I can even see through one event that these students are much more open to talk to each other and participate in our leadership once they're able to feel comfortable in our school community.
Okay, I will speak about this really quickly as well. On the Richmond High Student Voice Forum feedback form, there was actually 2 comments that I remember very clearly. It was, there's not enough spaces for us to complain, and they really wanted a complaint box, which I found pretty funny. But the more you think about it, I think they were trying to say that they wanted a way to voice their own opinions without having to necessarily speak to somebody about it, right? They just wanted to drop a card off into a box and maybe have their opinion considered. And I think that could be like a really good solution, right, for us to be able to hear everybody's opinions, right? So maybe I've been trying to get around to talking about that with my student council, but I haven't got around to it yet. But yeah, that's one thing that we've been thinking about.
I can speak a little bit on behalf of Palmer Secondary. So for our student council, it actually is student voted entirely. So all of our general members and execs are picked by the student body themselves. And I think it's just a really good gateway, because if the students are the one who are voting in the student leaders, they feel more confident if they have like ideas that they want to tell the student leaders. And then that could be their gateway for their ideas to make their way into the student council.
And if I can at least start speaking on behalf of Canby. So the way that we run our student council is similar to Palmer. We have a completely student-elected government. And something else that we do is most of our meetings are general meetings. So for a lot of student councils, they have an exec team, and majority of the meetings involve just the executives. But for our school, we've chosen to go a different route. So most of our meetings are just general meetings, and we have executive meetings just once a month. And so what that allows for is for the students that just want to be here and listen to what events are coming up, they get to hear what's going on, stay in the loop, and they also get to, put in their little opinions on our events and, give us some advice or suggestions based off of what their friends would like.
Yeah, and just also speaking on behalf of Canby, I feel like sometimes students feel like, oh, we're not leaders, we can't speak up, and just those general meetings just allow us to give them the opportunity to give them the voice, because not everyone's gonna going to want to be student council president one day, and that just allows them to still feel included and have that voice and have that time to just really put their opinions out there. And that just it's just an open space. Like anyone's able to come, anyone's able to join, anyone's able to really just put in what they believe is right.
And something else that I've also noticed that different student councils and even like separate clubs have been doing is using social media a lot more in a way that's helpful. So for example, on Instagram, there's a poll feature and also like a question box feature. So if we pose the question, what kind of events do you want to see? Then no matter where you are, if you just are on your phone and you see that story, you can reply and give in your opinion or your suggestion without having to actually be at a student council meeting. So that's also a great strategy that we've been using.
Yeah, and that just kind of breaks down the walls of like, oh, leader and student, and it just kind of makes them feel like everyone's together and everyone's on that same sort of level, and everyone has that chance to really speak up.
I've heard from you guys, you're speaking for and in behalf of your schools. Who's gonna speak for the district? Have you ever thought of that? Who's gonna represent the district, not only your school? Just for a reference, there is one student council in the Vancouver District Council. If you can make as your assignment a reference for you to think about it, and probably perhaps you can see what benefits would it be for our district, for the good of the students. Thank you.
Trustee Larson.
Just a quick thing I've noticed with each one of your answers and your comments and sharing of what you're talking about is you've got the basis or the foundation for belonging in each one of them that you've offered. And I don't think it was intentional to do it that way, but it's there. You can feel it. And that's a huge responsibility. And you're doing a great job. You can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it. And the video was just another way of sharing that with us. But you've done a great job of sharing that with us tonight. So thank you.
I always look forward to these presentations and hearing from the students, and because it's so much more interesting and exciting. And we live in such a crazy world, which is an understatement. And sometimes I think, oh my God. But then I saw them come and I hear you guys speak, and I think, well, maybe we got some hope here. So that's what I'm banking on. Just a question though. I mean, you guys have all demonstrated that you're leaders within schools, and I know you have busy schedules with grades and stuff like that. Just curious, outside the school, in the community, do any of you take on different leadership roles, whether it be in athletics or community groups, or are there any involved in that way? Just curious.
I often do volunteering because a lot of my friends at least have nonprofit organizations, and it's just a really good opportunity for us to like get out and give back to our community. Alongside that, I also play Club Ultimate Frisbee in the summer, which is like a 3-month program. But it's like isolated from school kind of, so it's easier to manage because it's in the summer.
Okay. Anyone else?
I will quickly speak as well. So every year during Remembrance Day, there is a color guard. If you guys know, there's like a bunch of flags that walk on. I'm actually the color guard commander for that ceremony. And it's a great honor. I actually get to walk on with the parade commander and the veteran guard commander as well. And we get to pin our poppies on the field of honor. So that's one thing that I'm truly like thankful that I have the privilege to do that. And it's something that I aim to do every single year as long as I can when I'm in cadets. So that's one thing I've been doing outside of school.
So outside of school, I'm an assistant coach for kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so I get to teach people of all ages, including like adults, in those different MMA or mixed martial arts isolations. Something else I also engage in is Here for Peers. Champion and I both do that, where we get to visit elementary schools or different feeder schools, and we get to present to them about mental health, educate on what that's like, and break down any stigma. And so before they head into high school, they're a little bit more educated, and that's a really fulfilling extracurricular to be involved in. And I also help with Canadian Cancer Society and in running fundraisers to raise money for that. And that is always such a fantastic experience because like you guys enjoy hearing stories, hearing those kind of stories are so transformative in your compassion and your passion for
helping others. So that's for me, yeah, the biggest things. Just quickly, some things that I do. I'm really involved in my dance community, so I teach younger kids often. And again, as Anas was saying, I do lots of volunteering around Richmond, Vancouver area, just whenever I have the opportunity to. One thing that's also very important to me is that I'm part of my school Interact Club, which focuses on giving back to our community through our school student body. So again, through that, we've visited elementary schools, done a lot of shoreline cleanups, given back to homeless people on Vancouver East Side. So yeah, that's been very fulfilling for me.
I was a part of the cheerleading team at Canby. We recently just finished our season, and I volunteer at a seniors home every week, Rosewood Manor, and I was just there today. And yeah, it's really nice to just really connect with the seniors because I've always grown up around them, and it's just I really appreciate their stories, and I help. This is really random, but I help with SFU's dance team social media. So my my friend attends SFU, and they decided that they liked my social media skills. So sometimes I just get to help around with their media team and just editing videos and helping them post. And I've also been involved in my own traditional dance called Bhangra, and I did that for a while, and it just recently came to an end for me as well.
Wonderful. You know, thank you for the work you guys do in school, and then thank you for the work you do outside of school. Eventually, school's going to end, and maybe you'll go into post-secondary, but eventually you'll end out in the community, and hopefully all the the wonderful things you did in high school will continue on, and because that's what makes. I mean, what you guys do is what makes your school so wonderful, and what you do in the community, what makes your community wonderful. And one day you may be like Trustee Yang here and be sitting on this side of the desk, and but as I said, thank you so much for all you guys do, and it's very impressive. And the nice thing is, you can tell it comes from a good place, comes from your heart and everything. So, again, thank you so much. And yeah. Anyways, as we tell all our people who present, we continue on with our business. You're welcome to stay. But if you decide you got homework to do or you just don't want to be here for that part, let's be honest, you're welcome to sort of leave out the side doors. And but thank you once again for coming out. We really enjoyed it. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Okay. Sorry about earlier on. I always think of presentations and I think, no presentation. We have a presentation, but anyways, it's all under control now. Moving ahead, after our executive report, we have the approval of minutes from prior meetings. There's a record of an in-camera meeting held by the board Wednesday, February 19th. We have regular meeting of the board held Wednesday, February 19th for approval, the minutes for Wednesday, February the 19th. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Trustee Tablatny moves, second by Trustee Larson. All in favor? Thank you. Business arising from prior minutes. Item A, strategic plan. There is a quarterly update for strategic priority 4 and 5. We have a report from the Executive Director of Human Resources and the Director of Communications and Marketing and Assistant Superintendent Brodigan. And all the meeting or the report is attached.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share a number of highlights that our human resource team has been undertaking and collaborated on in order to accomplish our strategic plan goals in Priority 4, a progressive workplace. The priority commits the district to attracting and retaining the best people by promoting and supporting the health and wellness and professional development of our workforce. We raise awareness of the Richmond School District as an employer of choice and as the best place to learn and lead. This priority consists of 6 goals. Goal 1 asserts that inclusion, equity, and diversity are foundational to employment at every level of the district. Objective 2 aims to develop and provide opportunities for employees to learn about workplace equity, diversity, and inclusion. This year, Human Resources staff have worked collaboratively with Learning Services staff and senior team to implement the provincial K-12 anti-racism strategy by identifying and developing anti-racism training resources and learning opportunities that meet the contextual learning needs of all of our employee groups. 2 examples of this are the October 2024 RASA conference titled Confluence with keynote speakers Monique Gray-Smith and Destin Lord. This upcoming May non-instructional day is dedicated to truth and reconciliation with 3 keynote speakers. Goal 2 attends to the aim of providing board-based professional learning and skill development opportunities for all employees in an equitable fashion. During the 24-25 school year, learning opportunities have been available, which include the August Summer Learning Institute, titled The Purpose, Practice, and Pedagogy of Play, and Powerful Habits for Powerful Learning. The October CUPE Conference spoke to empowering resilience, admin assistant 101 skills, making time for mindfulness, slips, trips, falls, and prevention injury, workplace training for respectful workplaces, and understanding neurodiversity. In October, we had the Richmond Leadership Team professional growth planning sessions, and a November mini conference on the Professional Development Day that included topics such as reclaiming play, social responsibility through play, from thinking to writing, First People's Principles and place consciousness, safe sensory strategies, building student confidence, the anxious generation, and various other sessions. In December, we saw opportunities around pop art, nonviolent crisis intervention, and Indigenous peoples collections in school libraries. January saw data dashboard training, SIOP training for our ELL and for our classroom teachers. We had another mini conference in January with keynote speakers Hannah Beach and Destin Lord. And in February, we also had Hannah Beach speaking of the emotional roots of aggression and anxiety, along with language instruction strategies and connecting with science and sustainability. We have ongoing respectful workplace training sessions with our various employee groups where the need has been identified either through administrators, managers, and or as a result of a workplace investigation. We have ongoing collaboration with our partner groups, and Human Resources staff continue to consult with and collaborate on identifying learning, skill development, and training needs for specific employee groups and shared funding opportunities that guide our future offerings. Also within Goal 2 is a specific objective of developing a leadership plan to foster leadership at all levels across the district. An initial summary of learning themes was compiled from survey information gathered in the spring of 2024 with our RASA group. Human Resources staff have continued to consult with RASA to collaboratively articulate tiered mentorship, leadership development opportunities for vice principals and principals, along with aspiring teacher leaders that will support learning for early, mid, and late career school-based leaders, as well as those interested in developing their formal leadership skills. Some of those offerings have included professional growth plans, which are structured ongoing support for all members of the Richmond leadership team. We introduced a Leading the Way series, which is a 3-part teacher leadership series, which saw 30 of our up-and-coming teacher leaders attend those sessions. We have coaching series for our administrators designed to build the mindsets and conversational skills to find strength-based solutions that foster resiliency, increase individual potential, heighten performance, and improve resourcefulness. Recently, a difficult conversation series began, and this again is a 3-part series designed to coach our leaders and further inform their practice around difficult conversations. And of course, our mentorship sessions continue, and this is support for principals and vice principals new to their role in key leadership areas that include the art of leadership, instructional leadership, ethical leadership, relational leadership, and organizational leadership. Looking ahead to the 25-26 school year, our staff will further collaborate with our RMAPs and exempt leaders to develop mentorship and leadership development opportunities for those members, as well as many of them are looking for ways to advance their careers. Goal 3 focuses on the value that we place on employee health and well-being within a culture of caring within our district. There are actions and 2 objectives within this goal that I will share with you. Objective 2 focuses on growing and enhancing existing supports. Human resources staff frequently review and summarize employee participation data for various health and well-being related offerings. This information informs the district whether an offering is providing value to our employees. By way of example, to date, we have the CALM app, and the data from that reveals great news. We have 1,628 users using that CALM app currently. And since July 1st of 2024, 104 new signups have happened. So we're constantly seeing new members, which is great. Of those users, over 1,100 are actively engaged with a total engagement rate of 76.4%. So we're so pleased to see this is such a well-used offering. While the district provides numerous other health and wellness support offerings, employee feedback identified a desire to have access to small group employee-created opportunities. And as a result, for 2024, we have been able to support a number of offerings through our health and wellness grants. We have Zumba fitness classes on Tuesdays at Brig House. We have yoga on Mondays and Wednesdays at Grower. And then school-based initiatives include McNeely's Creative Wellness and Nutrition Program, which they have designed to foster a healthier, more engaged and collaborative workspace. We have pickleball happening at William Bridge Elementary in the school gym once a week, and that's members from their own school. And we also have some members from the board office that attend and play, so about 12 to 20 participants each week. At Canby, they're in the 2nd year of their offering of running a weight training program for staff. Palmer is also continuing with their Wellness Wednesdays, and they have 10 different wellness activities for 10 consecutive weeks. This involves Zumba, clay making this year, volleyball, kickboxing, healthy power bowl making, to name a few. This year, Tolmy also has Wellness Wednesdays, and their offering aligns with their school's story and focuses on literacy, First People's Principles of Learning, and creates opportunities for staff to come together for a variety of wellness experiences. And Steveston London this year has started what they call the Swell Initiative, and that's a total of 19 opportunities consisting of 2 health talks, 8 yoga classes, 1 cooking session, and 8 wellness walks. So it's fantastic to see the offerings that individual schools are creating. With more health and safety focus, the district also provides initiatives that attend to broader employee wellness needs. These include inoculation clinic offerings, hearing test clinics, mental health first aid, and occupational first aid training. Finally, in relation to this objective, Human Resources has developed a well-developed disability management process and supports to ensure timely return to work options for employees that have experienced conditions that have prevented them from working. Public Education Benefit Trust reports that SD 38 remains a leading district with respect to providing timely referrals and return to work options, scheduling, and accommodations. Within Goal 3 of Objective 3, which focuses on building supervisor and management staff capacity for acknowledging and supporting human wellness, to date, the Human Resources Department has worked in tandem with Learning Services and our partner groups to develop and provide capacity building opportunities to support staff wellness across departments and facilities. These include our administrator and manager capacity building. We provide ongoing support to system leaders with having attendance and wellness conversations with employees within a culture of care. We engage in consultation with our partner groups and an ongoing collaboration to surface needs and opportunities for supervisors and managers to support employees in their health and well-being. We recognize the collective responsibility for supporting leaders in this essential work and engage in ongoing collaboration with our district partners to surface needs and opportunities to support employees in their health and well-being. Goal 4 identifies the need to recruit and retain high-quality staff with potential in all positions across the district. There are actions and plans underway related to 2 of these objectives. Objective 2 stresses the importance of human resources and management staff having opportunities to build and enhance their hiring capabilities. To that end, training opportunities are ongoing for all human resources staff, with particular focus on those with recruitment responsibilities. These opportunities involve attending conferences hosted by Harris & Co., BCPC, Make a Future, or offerings of completing HR certification coursework at post-secondary institutions such as BCIT. Human resources staff track their participation and reflect on learning and actions from each session, which are discussed during regular one-on-one meetings with their supervisors. The learning is then incorporated into our processes to enhance the services we provide to the system. Objective 4 focuses specifically on promoting our district as an employer of choice. To achieve this objective, our staff have designed a multi-pronged recruitment and retention strategy. In collaboration with partner group feedback, human resources staff implement a variety of initiatives. To attract and source, we're improving recruitment branding, presence, and outreach to attract and source high-quality applicants, online and social media recruitment strategies, and engaging in job fairs. In improving the candidate experience, we are reviewing and improving our recruitment processes, our interview guides, our support, and our resources for management staff who are recruiting. We're planning for the future, and we're increasing our capacity for practicum placements for both teachers and educational assistants, and we continue to work on strengthening relationships with our post-secondary institutions. We present opportunities within our grade 11 and 12 career planning and classes, and we continue to provide targeted professional learning opportunities to teacher candidates within our district to foster affiliation and support readiness. In optimizing our current talent pool, we're creating strategies to optimize the use of our TTOCs and other on-call staff. We're refining our employee onboarding processes. We're refreshing our EA development and supports in partnership with our partner groups, our learning services staff, and the REAP program. There we go. Goal 5 is very operational and one that centers around the value all staffing allocations are determined equitably, responsibly, and responsively. Objective 1 focuses on identifying and implementing innovative staffing allocation processes that support timely responses to emergent needs. This year, the redesign of school staffing summary sheets in collaboration with finance, payroll, central registration, and our Secretary Treasurer's Department to create efficient alignment We continue to revise our staffing timelines and our data collection timelines to best align with budget and staffing and our school needs. Enhanced communication and data sharing with our RTA partner group ensures transparency and effective consultation regarding our staffing allocations. We continue to collaborate with all of our departments, and we look ahead as we're identifying our CUPE staffing processes, such as EA and administrator allocations. Finally, Goal 6 focuses on ensuring the district has effective risk management policies and practices in place to ensure safety and stability of the organization as a whole. Objective 2 identifies developing risk mitigation plans and embedding them in policy to manage and address risk. The Board of Education established the Enterprise Risk Management, or the ERM policy, in 2023. The policy formally defines the district's approach of identifying, assessing, mitigating, monitoring, and reporting on enterprise risks across the district. The policy outlines the governance structure for ERM, including the roles and responsibilities of the board and senior management. The policy promotes a risk-aware culture within the district, emphasizing the importance of identifying and managing risks in all aspects of the operations. With respect to ongoing risk reviews and reporting processes, work continues for district staff to periodically review and update the risk management procedures and report to the board through the audit committee. The risk review process focuses on the following aspects across all functional areas in the district: reviewing the metrics that measure the likelihood and impact of the identified risks, reviewing the effectiveness of existing risk management strategies, the timeline of developing and implementing further risk mitigation plans, and the allocation of resources and as necessary. In conclusion, Human Resources staff are actively engaged in fulfilling the board's commitments as outlined in the 2020-25 Strategic Plan Priority 4 Goals and Objectives. This report is presented to highlight key actions and initiatives that are underway currently and to identify plans for the coming school year. I will now turn things, there we go. I will now turn things over to my colleagues, Assistant Superintendent Brodigan and Director of Communications and Marketing, David Sadler.
Good evening, everyone. Strategic Priority 5 supports the board's focus on making measurable improvements to engagement, collaboration, and access to information. Within this priority, our objectives and actions establish a framework for continuous enhancements to internal and external communications, with a key emphasis on effectively informing and engaging all members of our community. This year, we have made meaningful progress in strengthening internal communication practices to improve collaboration and productivity. Since the launch of our new intranet platform, RichNet, exactly 1 year ago, it has received 1.4 million visits, averaging over 7,000 staff visits per day. This highlights its role as a key platform for staff to access important district information. Since the launch, we continue to refine and improve the platform. In response to feedback at our 2024 partner group meeting, we have taken measures to streamline district communications to ensure RichNet remains the primary internal communication tool for staff. The RLT Bulletin also plays an important role in delivering targeted updates, and reliance on email communication has been significantly reduced, improving efficiency and accessibility. Over the course of this year, further enhancements have been made to the RLT Bulletin to improve content delivery and accessibility. A new system now enables customized bulletins, ensuring staff receive the most relevant information to them. Additionally, an upgraded delivery system has improved content formatting and reliability. To ensure data-driven decision-making, analytics tracking has also been integrated into the RLT Bulletin, allowing us to assess engagement trends and refine internal communication strategies. These enhancements strengthen our ability to provide clear, timely, and effective communications across the district. Internal communication guidelines and best practices have also been developed for staff and are now available on RichNet, ensuring consistency across district and school communications. Standardized templates, along with school and district logos and branded virtual meeting backgrounds, have also been made available to support a unified and professional appearance in both internal and external communications. To ensure that RichNet remains a valuable internal tool for staff, best practices in intranet management have been implemented, including a governance structure and ongoing content monitoring. A new automated annual file review system ensures that outdated or redundant content is regularly assessed and updated. In addition, RichNet tutorial videos and content manager training sessions have been introduced to ensure that staff have the knowledge and skills to properly use and support the management of the platform. Over the last year, building awareness and understanding of the district work has continued to be a key focus. In 2022-23, total views on the district website and social media reached 886,000. In 2023-24, this number more than doubled to 1.7 million total views as a result of external communication strategies that were implemented. So far in 2024-2025, total views stand at 1.1 million, with 4 months remaining in the reporting period. When combined with RichNet activity, the total number of internal and external views exceeds 2.5 million views over the past year, demonstrating the continued growth and reach of our communication efforts. We continue to monitor and report on communication practices. Monthly and annual reports provide valuable insights into engagement, performance, and coverage, allowing us to make data-driven decisions. Tracking engagement data ensures that key messages resonate with our staff and community, while website analytics help us improve accessibility and navigation. In summary, our efforts across Strategic Priority 5 have achieved significant milestones and laid the groundwork for sustained advancements in communication, engagement, and collaboration within the Richmond School District. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my portion of the report.
Well, now we'll move on to student voice. Yes, we're moving on to student voice, sorry. I really feel like the students stole my thunder this evening, so I said to them as they were packing up, of course, what a great job they did. And I said, I'm not so thrilled to have to follow them. But I will definitely build on what they shared this evening. So one of the goals we've continued to work with this year with Student Voice is expanding opportunities for activating student voice and diversifying the range of student perspectives, which you heard our students illustrate this evening with lots of methods for them to share their thoughts and opinions. So some of the ways that we do this are, as you heard, Table 38 and President's Council, and really supporting those students to develop their leadership skills and supporting their explorations of ways to foster connection and belonging, and to support them in leading school-based initiatives that increase the connection and belonging at their schools. And then, of course, there's the Student Voice Forum. It was the 3rd annual that was held on February 5th. There were over 100 students there, lots of diversity represented there from all of our secondary schools. This event really offers that valuable opportunity, not just for students to get together, but for staff and for you, trustees, to engage with students to discuss their school experiences and engage in the feedback that they share. What we heard back from them was what they felt really heard and they felt really respected at the forum. They really appreciated the opportunity to meet new people, to engage in discussions, and they really enjoyed the chance to share their thoughts and their stories and hear diverse perspectives and stories from each other. They really valued the informative presentations and the chance to learn from experts. And they felt that the environment was comfortable and inclusive, As I said, they really felt heard and respected. They also told us they'd love to have more time for conversation in future forums, to have longer discussion sessions, and lots of opportunities to be interactive with each other and to connect particularly with peers from other schools. Some of the biggest takeaways from that forum were the importance of belonging and how everybody desires to belong. Students recognize that small actions can make a really big difference to making others feel included. Students really emphasize the need to respect and understand each other's stories and experiences, and how important it is to not judge others. It's important to be open-minded. They really highlighted that. And they felt empowered by the opportunity to voice their opinions. And they hope they will have lots of opportunities to contribute to discussions and share their input going forward. Another goal that we've focused on to date this year is creating structures to support the use of student input in decision-making. So as you heard from Superintendent earlier this evening, through the strategic planning engagement process, student voice is being solicited through a district survey and school-based focus groups. And that collective voice is going to be used to help shape the board's 25 to 30 strategic plan. Another method to collect student voice is there is a student survey that we developed for elementary and secondary students to gather data about student belonging and safety in their schools. So that's a grade 3 to 12 survey that is out now. And school and district staff continue to engage in formal and informal methods to gather student voice data about key decisions. You heard the students say this evening that not everyone is comfortable coming forward to a forum and in a discussion. And one of the students talked about it, the complaints box. But really, what's really important in that feedback is that students tell us that they want a variety of formats to share their thoughts, and having a way to write down or to fill in an electronic survey, or to talk with a teacher, or to join a focus group. We are really working on having a wide menu of opportunities for students to come forward and share their voice. There's also an ELL, English Language Learner Student Survey, that was conducted recently to gather data about the experience of our ELL learners in secondary school, with a focus on reducing barriers in their school experience, and will be have that data ready to share throughout the spring. The feedback from the Student Voice Forum is shared back to schools, so that principals, vice principals, and our district staff can use that data to guide future student initiatives. Our school learning stories are also reflective in input gathered through student engagement, through focus groups in all of our schools, through interviews, to find out the student experience and to help that inform the school planning process. And of course, students are represented on some of the board's advisories, SOGI, and Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And there's also a mental health youth advisory to help make sure that student input and voice is considered in decision-making. And overall, students have told us over and over again, they appreciate the opportunities to share their voice, and they encourage us to continue to provide those opportunities for them to share their voice going forward. So that concludes all of our reports, and we're happy to take any questions.
Do we have to do one person at a time, or can we go boom, 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 and then it goes on to the next person?
Oh,
Presenters? Like something to human resources, something to communication, and something to.
yeah, just a few, yeah.
Is that okay? Okay, so, Tanya, sorry. I love the idea of when you, everything that you brought up is doing so well. And you can tell with the wellness that's happening with people, you know. When you talk about the professional learning, leadership and skill development for all, so is that all then, like, say, in a day where you have all the QP, RTA, RASA, administration, all people taking the same type of professional development?
It may be. It depends on the day and the venue. So some of the things I spoke to were specific to a specific group. And then some of the offerings we have, such as the non-instructional day of professional learning that Learning Services is organized, is for everybody within the district. So it's a variety.
That's fantastic because I really believe that, I mean, I know that it all has to happen at different places, size, everything like that. But those ones in particular, I think break down the silos between departments and people and roles and everything. And breaking down the silos builds the respect and understanding and makes for better communication and working together all around. So I think that's fabulous. And I've heard really good things about, again, all the wonderful opportunities, whether it's yoga or CALM or pickleball or whatever it is that people are doing. That's fabulous. So thank you. Mr. Sadler, sorry. I love the weekly info that you're doing for trustees right now as far as internal. I find that very, very helpful. Once all the emails come in, you get, and boom, that Friday that it comes in and it's right there. It's fantastic. The other thing I think is fantastic is the school stories. I think I don't know where that actually fits in, but it's wonderful to go to a school and take that read before you get there, and you get a feel right away. And it's really wonderful. The other thing, there was something else I wanted to say to you, and I can't remember now. I won't take up any more. But fantastic with the numbers of the hits on the web pages, and you did a good job, Crystal, even after the kid. Thanks. You really did. But the student voice to the schools, and I just wonder, of course, you know, me being an EA, I always wonder about, are there opportunities when surveys go out, like say with the strategic plan or whatever we're looking for, where, say, for example, kids that can't write or kids that the EA can scribe for them, that happens, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Okay, that's what I figured. What else was it? The belonging, we think, oh yeah, that other thing, I think the most important thing for me was student voice. It takes that, you know, we think we know what they need. We think we know what they want, but they're the ones that know. And we learn from them. We need to listen, and we're doing that. And the couple of student voice forums that we've been to so far have just been amazing. And to hear these kids telling us tonight is fantastic. So thank you.
See, I'm going to ask that we keep the 2 or 3 questions, and we keep going around, but just so that we give other people a shot, and so there are questions that get asked by everyone. So Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, just this is for Executive Director Ms. Major. The wellness initiatives, which are fantastic. I love all of them. Just wondering how you're measuring the impact of the initiatives on the employee wellness and the productivity and the effectiveness, effect on absenteeism. Just curious about that, because I know we've talked about the absentee rates and the wellness part and the connection. And when this initiative first happened a long time ago, and you've built on it, so I'm just wondering how we're measuring that in some way.
So I'm hearing 2 parts to your question. One is just about the uptake of the offerings. And so from that, what I can say is things like our Zumba, things like our yoga are always fully booked. And we're looking at adding more when the instructors are available. We've recently had one school that actually even added it on their own. So in terms of the uptake of the offerings, it is continuing to increase. As you heard, we have some schools who put in repeat proposals for the Healthy Wellness Grant. So we'd like to be able to tie that and say, this is really supporting our staff and reducing our absenteeism. I can't give you a stat on that, but definitely that's something that I can take back and we can look into how can we better tie that into measuring that. So thank you for that.
Yes, because
Mhm.
my guess is that it is having an effect, and it is.
I hope so.
helping, But I'd be curious, you know, if we had a way of measuring it, and I'm sure you are measuring absenteeism, so you know we might see a trend over the next couple of years. That. Thank you. And then just one other quick question. For the Director of Communications, Mr. Sadler. So, you know, I think you've got a lot of initiatives about reaching out and it's, I mean, all of them are fantastic. The posts that come out about Facebook and Instagram and everything. I just wondered, if you have any strategies for, we've been talking lately about reaching out to parents, with critical information about the work of the board and district initiatives and addressing areas of concern. So have you got any ideas on how you're going to build on your communication strategies to really kind of directly target parents?
Yeah, one thing we're currently working on is updating our school websites and our district websites with the ability to push information out from the school board office to all district school sites. And that would potentially allow us to share more of that information that you're referencing directly with each individual school and the parents of those schools.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Trustee Yang, followed by Trustee Beliza.
Thank you, Chairperson. Really appreciate the detailed quarter or the strategic plan update. Just a question for Executive Director around recruitment and retention, because and I'm getting at sort of the number of graduates from post-secondary institutions. I think there are similar conversations now with healthcare that that number is just not coming out of post-secondary. Are we seeing that same issue for the education?
We have seen a bit of a decrease in overall university applications. However, in Richmond, we are staying at a very high level of teacher candidates. So our number hasn't wavered too much. So while we're seeing a bit of a dip, we've been fortunate. We have a lot of teachers who are willing to take on teacher candidates. We have a lot of EAs who are willing to take on those going through the REAP program and our other programs as well. So we are feeling still fortunate with our recruitment of those individuals who are doing their practicums and that within our district.
That's good to hear. I mean, at least for the short term, you know, those are sort of the state of the business, if you will, in terms of recruiting. But it does raise an interesting point in terms of potential areas for advocacy, because you know we're seeing that unfolding in the healthcare sector, where you know senior levels of government are pushing for more spaces in post-secondary institutions to you know generate a larger pool of talent, right? So you know that could be one of many ways to address these you know stagnant issues around you know hiring. But yeah, though that's certainly good to hear, at least for the long or the short term in our district. And then my other question, just around the ELL survey. So to you, Assistant Superintendent, will trustees be able to have that information shared to us? Because I don't know if you recall, but years ago we actually did sit down with a group of ELL students to hear what they have to say, and of course that's a very small sample, and so having that more thought, there's a methodology behind your surveys, right? And so being able to have that information would certainly help us in contextualizing and having that context.
Yeah, we'll have that ready to share later in the spring.
Good. Trustee Beliza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for this very comprehensive report. And thank you guys for all the hard work in terms of the, you know, enhancing your department And my question, one for the strategic priority number 5 and one for strategic priority number 4. Now, it's always nice, and I like our goal here to be an employer of choice and in a progressive workplace. I guess you mentioned all the, I guess, what the initiatives and the benefits of the, for the workforce. I guess my question is, as an employer of choice, how good are we? Or are we being competitive in terms of hiring, in terms of retaining our staff or workplace, and in terms of wellness and well-being compared to the other district? And I guess my question with regard to strategic priority number 4 is, I'm really very appreciative of involving the students to enhance their student voice in appointing student in different committees, SOGI, DEI, and mental health. Are they being appointed or elected by their peers? And I hope that not only with this committees but also with the education committee, because it involves, I guess, students, and we always focus on the learner. So I'd like to listen to your comment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. I would say yes, we are very competitive in positioning ourselves as an employer of choice, and we receive feedback from various individuals that they want to come to Richmond. We were recently at the UBC Career Fair, and our table lineup was the longest, and that has been the case for a number of years. We are consistently filling up our REAP program for the full-time and for the part-time program. When we do have other postings out for recruitment, we have a very, very healthy number of applicants, which tells us that people want to come and work in Richmond, and they want to stay in Richmond. We have a lot of employees who don't live in Richmond, and they commute. So all of that information together lets us know that we are doing a good job. We, of course, won't stop there. We will continue to recruit. As we know, it's a hard time right now, so we will continue to bring in new initiatives and new strategies. But I feel very confident in the work that the team is doing. Thank you for that.
Do we have data of applicants coming from the other district, or I guess people leaving our district to go to the other district?
Yeah, absolutely. And that does happen. That happens all the time for various reasons, right? If people are moving, if people have a life situation that takes them out of Richmond or into Richmond. So that, of course, there's always that coming and going within any organization. But we are not losing more than we are bringing in.
Thank you.
Kind of a question regarding recruitment. Not trying to cause an international scene, but so if people from Washington State want to come and next year be teachers up in BC, the U.S. teaching certificate, how does that compare? How does the rate, or people have to upgrade if they want to teach here?
You okay if I take that and come back to you? Okay. So we don't determine the category that the teachers are at or the TRB licensing. So that all happens before an individual would come to us. So when we hire those applicants, We ask that they already have their TQS card. We ask that they already have their TRB certificate. So I don't have all of the information on the specifics of whether when people are coming from across the country or from out of country, that's handled before they come to us. We only hire certified teachers in Richmond, and they all have their teaching certificate that's been awarded by the ministry.
All right, thanks. Any more questions?
I think I have a question too.
Yeah, I think the
Assistant
trustee believes I had a
Superintendent.
question that didn't get answered.
Oh.
In regards to membership on the advisory committees, correct? Yeah. So there are not elections for those representatives. We work with our schools to ask for students who are interested and available to attend our advisories. Sometimes that's based on a particular topic that the advisory might be digging into, or the subcommittees, or sometimes the students will attend all year to represent the student voice. We always make sure that if we have grade 12's representative on the committee, that we have some time of overlap with grades 10 or 11 students, so that we make sure we have continuity from year to year on the advisories.
So they are selected from the those who are willing to
That's right.
participate. You think that with the rationale of having students in our committee, you think are we being served if there will also be representation from the students in the education committee?
I can only speak for the advisories that we represent, because our committees have terms of reference. And so the board's advisory committees include students in the terms of reference. So we invite students in the method that I described to provide their input into the topics at hand. And of course, students have valuable insight because they are, on the front lines of their schools, and they have the student voice and they represent the student voice. But in terms of the board's standing committees, I'm not able to comment.
Thank you.
Heather, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do have many student presentations that come to Education Committee with various, on various points. I'm not sure if that's maybe what you were referring to when you talked about Education Committee.
It's nice to answer through the chair. It's nice to know and listen to the different presentation, but in terms of the people like what we have, consider it like a partner group where there is some kind of representation from the different spectrum of our community, including the students.
Right?
Just in answering that, with our education committee, with all our standing committees, we do have public portions, and so students would be able to attend if they wanted to. So if they were very curious about the committees or had opinions, they are absolutely welcome to attend.
I think that question should be posed also to the different student organizations that we have, if they are so interested. Thank you.
Right? Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to new business. And we have a recommendation regarding the 2025 long-range facility plan. There's a report from our Secretary Treasurer, Pat. Sure.
Thank you, Chairperson. My report is from page 28 to page 322. Trustees, as you can see, it is evident that a lot of work has gone into creating the long-range facilities plan, particularly the work from our two wonderful planning managers, Mr. Umar Oke and Mr. Joseph Balderson. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the great work that has gone into the creation of the long-range facilities plan in this public meeting. Their hard work and professionalism is greatly appreciated. So the long-range facilities plan is a strategic document that outlines the district's vision and approach to manage the school facilities in Richmond to meet the current educational needs and also future requirements. It serves as a roadmap for decision-making and capital planning to make sure our capital planning is responsive to the community needs, to the students and staff, and the broader learning community's needs. So the Board of Education launched its public consultation process in the fall of 2024 through a series of engagement sessions from October 2024 to February 2025. The public engagement process has facilitated the discussions between the board and the public, and then also our education partner groups. We received valuable feedback, and those feedback has been integrated into the long-range facilities plan. So with that, our staff present to the board the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the 2025 long-range facilities plan as presented in the attachment to this report. So that is my report, and I welcome any questions or comments from the board.
Questions or comments for Secretary Treasurer regarding long-range facility plan? Trustee Yang, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. And yeah, I want to first off just express immense gratitude to everyone who was involved in, certainly our planning staff who's led this document, but to partner groups who've participated in this journey, as well as members of the public who provided important feedback. And this is, to me, I think, the second most important document in terms of our governance, aside from our strategic plan, because it very clearly lays out what we need, the status of our facilities and where we're going from here. And I just want to take some time to deliberate on some of the themes and things that I'm seeing in this report, because I think it's really important for the public to really understand some of this information that we're passing through in this long-range facility plan. And, to nobody's surprise, I'm going to start off with City Center, because, that's continually been a facilities pressure where we've been experiencing. And, certainly top of mind for us as trustees. On page 118, if I were to show any member of the public about the condition, the situation we're in the city center, I will show them page 118, because on that graph, it clearly shows that where we are right now in terms of our capacity, we're at 2,251 seats right now. And that is with recent additions that are going to be coming in at Tomset and Tommy. That number grows to 2,602 by 2027, and then it jumps further to 2,917 by the year 2031. So according to our numbers, we're not playing with a few dozen school seats here. These are literally entire elementary schools worth of kids that we need to fill in the city center. And if any proof that we have a dire situation according to this plan, we should look at Appendix A, because it clearly highlights school by school where enrollment is at. For example, Brick House, we're going from 754 in the year 2025 to 940. At Cook, that's going from 706 to 737. Tomset's going from 514 to 706. Huge jump. Tommy going from 380 to 471. These are unsustainable numbers. And if you look at the graphs, it shows you the capacity at which these schools run at. And 3 of 4 schools are clearly exceeding that. So what happens when we don't have kids in permanent spaces? Well, we have to look at portables. And so according to Appendix H, and we're looking at our 4 city center schools, 19 of them, we have 19 portables in total in these 4 school sites. So when the big question comes, where are the kids going to go? Well, chances are it's probably inaffordable if we can't get those expansions or new schools that which we're desperately hoping for provincial support. And that's, the entire point of what I'm trying to drive through is, we do need these two new city center schools, which have been highlighted in our advocacy, but also a part of this plan. And, it's one thing to alleviate pressure, but, schools need to be spaces where it's conducive for learning. Whether that means gym space, which is very important, library space, bathrooms, you name it. Those are amenities that students count on. And again, these problems will only grow and grow if you look at our projections. And at the end of the day, students will be worse off. So for me, the advocacy certainly has to continue on this file, but there are so many other issues. You look at the boundary review process, which is highlighted in page 155. And I'm glad that staff was able to incorporate my recommendation to extend the consultation process to include community input, because it's important not only for school communities to have a say, but people who are living in neighborhoods. And, when we're talking about boundary review, Hamilton comes to mind, because through conversations throughout our consultation, and also what I'm hearing, it's about time to have those conversations and really make that shift so that Hamilton students are attending Hamby Secondary. And I think in Chapter 10, it was clearly highlighted as a recommendation that this needs to be pursued, and I agree. But also the elementary growth in Hamilton as well, because outside of the city center, that's the other place that is growing tremendously in the district. So that certainly needs attention. Seismic upgrades in our schools. 22 of our schools still need seismic upgrading. You look at page 173, that's evident on that graph, but it was certainly hopeful from what we're hearing from the province in terms of their commitments to continue to seismically upgrade schools. And I think you see that language in Budget 2025. These are needs throughout the city. And in fact, we recently went to Victoria last week to, advocate for these issues. And funny thing was, in the morning we were starting our journey, and we were waken up by earthquake. So it was very timely to talk about seismic upgrades, because schools need to be safe environments for schools, for students and staff. I want to talk about the lower growth neighborhoods as well, because if we compare our last iteration of the LRFP to the current one, and again going back to Appendix A, schools that you thought maybe the growth wasn't there, well, the growth is there now, because, and I can, for example, Walter Lee Elementary, Kidd Elementary, those schools have gone from mid 100s in the last iteration of the LRFP to the mid 200s now in the draft, in this current draft. So it really goes to show the impact of provincial legislation on housing. And keeping in mind that the city of Richmond will review their official community plan, which will have further impacts on neighborhood growth. And so certainly something to keep in mind. And I think our LRFP certainly does capture this. Very long-winded, but I think it needs to be understood by the public that these are real issues facing our students, facing educators that are in these facilities, and it's time for senior governments to come to the table and further engage. And we've certainly done some of that work, but that work continues. I think I'll just leave it there. But one last thing I will say is be valuable for our MLAs, MPs, mayors, and councillors to all have a copy of this. Because it's such valuable information, and it really guides our conversations as we further collaborate on all the issues that I've highlighted, but much more. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Trustee Belisa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
Yep.
I cannot thank enough for for everyone who are involved in the planning. It's a humongous job. But for me, I look at it as one of the job that we have to do: planning, funding, and execution. We have done the planning, and I think I am very appreciative of the work that the district and the staff have done with regard to this. But to be successful, we need to have funding. And if you go over the cost that would entail and for the success of this long-range facilities plan, just for example, from the seismic mitigations to additional, enhancement in our schools, to the different other strategic priorities and the 5-year capital plan. It involves hundreds of millions. So we need everyone, our partners, also to advocate for funding. District, I think we have done our share to plan ahead, but we need, in order that this will be successful, we need the advocacy, the strong advocacy to make sure that this plan will be properly implemented. Because if there is no money, this plan is, worth, I guess, less than what we expect for. So I guess the hardest part is the implementation, because there are so many moving objects, moving targets, change in the OCP, changes in legislations, changes in government, priorities. So we need to make sure that the plan is up to date in terms of meeting the needs and expectations of the school district and our community. So I look forward, I guess, to the opportunity and the challenge that it will take.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Dwatney?
Yeah, well, no, I remember when we didn't have this document, we didn't have a plan. We knew what we needed and we were constantly advocating for it, but we were also constantly turned away by the provincial government of the day. We had 36 schools that needed seismic upgrading at the time, a considerable number of H1 schools, which is the highest you can be. And we still needed city center, and, we had many other pressures, enrollment pressures in city center with our schools. And I think I only remember getting one project. And it kept coming down to this document. And so finally, and we didn't have the staff to do it. They were doing all of this stuff off the side of their desks. And so, we had several meetings with the ministry and made it very clear that we had to have a project office. We needed to have the staff, and they would be able to do the work. And somehow there was, in a change of government, they heard us, and we did get this promise of a project office and the staffing. And from there, we only moved forward. And once we had that long-range facilities plan, the first one, which was very extensive and lots of consultation on that work, we started moving ahead with our projects. And now we're down to 22 seismic projects. It takes a while to get these projects approved. And, they're starting to hear us about our city center, and they've given us modular classrooms. That might not be a perfect solution, but it sure has saved us in the meantime. But those schools don't have the infrastructure to you know, they weren't built to have that number of students coming to the school and the gym and the, you know, all the other space and washrooms, et cetera. But when you see the tremendous amount of work in updating this plan and also the excitement, when we speak to Mr. Olay and Mr. Baldison about all their work in updating and ask them questions, they're truly excited about it, and to see, you know, how much they've worked on this and the incredible amount of thought and consultation that's gone into it. It's amazing. So we have come a long way. We've come a long way, and this document is going to guide us for the next number of years in many ways and assist us in our advocacy, which we are constantly doing. So I echo Trustee Yang's comments about the leaders, our community leaders and our MLAs and our MPs should all be reading this document, and we should be sending copies to them once we approve this. I think it's a very important document, and it gives a very clear picture of our needs moving forward, especially in city center, and the effects of some of the legislation that's recently been passed and how it will affect us in the future. So I'm thankful that we've done this work, but I'm very thankful to our staff that we would not have had if we didn't have that granting of staff in a project's office. And so I'm really appreciative of the way we've moved forward on all our projects, and will continue to do so. So just happy to approve this. So thank you.
Trustee Larson?
Pretty well, everything's been said, but one thing that I want to mention that I think is most important is the fact that this incredible, thorough document is a living document. So it's reviewed constantly and is changed constantly when it's needed to be changed, because it isn't stagnant. It doesn't sit there. This is the rules and we're following it no matter what happens, because look at what's happened just over the last 5 years since we've had the first one. So it is an amazing document, and thank you to our Secretary Treasurer and her team for the relationships that they've built with the ministry staff and our city staff and our public and us. And I'm incredibly grateful for the work that you've done, and I have complete faith in the document that we're looking at. So thank you.
Okay, first off, like, as it's been said many times tonight, the long range facility plan document itself is excellent. It's a great resource, and I had a bunch of questions and I looked at it more carefully, and there's a lot of answers in there. There's lots of data in there, and a lot of, well, what if this happened? Well, there's scenarios in there as well. The one thing that concerns me though is we put so much stock in city center in that the growth is, you know, incredible, and we're going to run out of spaces, and I don't argue with that at all. But I look around the rest of the city, and you know, based on what was put in the long range facility plan, out of our 37 elementary schools, 19 schools are currently over capacity. 10 schools are between 80 and 100%. So just assume down the road, like maybe half of those might become over capacity. Like we could have over, you know, 20 plus schools over capacity. Getting a new school in, getting two new schools actually in the city center area is not going to solve all the problems. And especially when you look at the timeline for things. I mean, you know, people sort of dangle dates and say, well, you know, maybe it takes time to build a school. With the current political climate, I have a hard time believing we're going to get two schools delivered to us, you know, in the next couple of years or whatever. And so we talk about, well, maybe, you know, we'll get one in a few years and maybe another one in 10 years. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of districts would be very happy with that sort of schedule. But meanwhile, our numbers are growing, and I think that we have to start thinking outside the box. To rely solely on the government for the money, we can do that, but I think we're gonna be disappointed. So I guess one of the things that I sort of look at is our grade configuration. And I don't wanna, this is not even a question for you, but just something I've been thinking about is I look at the grade configuration and wonder if, now when I went 100 years ago, when I went to high school, Hugh Boyd was grade 8 to 10, and then Stevenson was grade 11 to 12. And then, as we all know, they converted all the high schools into 8 to 12. And I was talking to a previous administrator, and he said, I said, well, like, what was the thinking back then? And he said, well, Stevenson High had about 1,200 grade 12s, and it was nuts. And he goes, we had to do something about it. And so obviously they converted all the schools into 8 to 12, which I'm sure made a big difference in terms of alleviating the press of the pressure of having 1,200 kids in one school like that. But, and then this is not any blame at all towards any of the decision makers back then, because I'm sure they were making decisions based on what they had on their plate there. But, in hindsight, you kind of wonder, well, geez, maybe if we had, 5 high schools and 5 senior highs and 5 middle schools, such that our elementary schools become K-6, which, would free up classrooms because the grade 7s would have moved on to the middle school. Anyways, like I said, I'm not trying to drop any bombshell. There's nothing in the works, but it's just sort of my thinking when I see this document and I think, oh my God, geez, we could have over 20 plus schools over capacity. Building 2 schools is going to help, but it's not going to answer all the questions. So I'm looking forward with this document as we go forward to start asking some of these questions. Now, the answer may be no, Ken, that's nuts. It's not going to work. Or maybe there's something to it, but we need to start looking at other options because, although the government is responsible for providing education and providing the buildings, we're well within our rights for advocating for all these different things. The reality is that there's limited money out there, and with the current politics, who knows what's going to be. And so anyways, as for moving forward, I think this report is excellent. And, because of it, it raises questions and it actually raises other concerns that, we have to consider as well. So on that note, I am going to move the recommendation of the Board of Education approve the 2025 long-range facility plan as presented in the attachment to this report. I'm looking for a seconder, Trustee Yang. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Ask the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the recommendation is carried. Now go get us some millions of dollars. Now to go get millions of dollars.
That's the next step.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I messed up the first question period. Liz, come on down. Yes, Connie? Yes. Yep.
Good evening, trustees. Liz Baverstock, President, Richmond Teachers Association, and I have a few props in my bag. So number one, the brief. And I'll say it's actually brief tonight. It's only 4 pages, so there you go. I'm not going to read it out loud to you. And then I'll pull out a few other things as I go through. So this is the Richmond Teachers Association budget brief for your consideration. And I'm going to start by recognizing that once again, the board is going to most likely find itself in some difficult places as you face decisions for the budget. I know that's one of the reasons why you have delayed making that decision until May. I understand that. And I reflect upon being within Richmond, teaching at that grade 11 and 12 school at Steveston, perhaps when I started my career and going through 8 to 12, so I could give you some information on that transition. But I think about the time in Richmond, and we've gone through all our cycles. We've had significant enrollment growth when I started earlier in my career. Then we experienced having our collective agreement stripped by the government of the day. And what I will say as trustees at the time, you made best efforts, those who were here at the time, some still are, to maintain those collective agreement provisions. We went through then declining enrollment. That really brought on the budget pressures. Teachers during that time were engaged in long fights to restore the working and learning conditions and to restore our language. And in 2016, we won. We won at the Supreme Court of Canada, and every teacher remembers that. And as we were going through that, we were going through a time where it was at risk of 100 FTE of teachers being cut in 2017, 100 FTE. But at that time, Human Resources, the superintendent of the day, and the RTA, we really worked hard to fully implement the restored language. And it's that work that we did at that time that really drives the Classroom Enhancement Fund. And I know that's not part of your decision making, but it really does afford the district that ability to continue to provide the current support for students. And that is the work of, the teachers to get the language back. But I will also talk about a bit of that historical piece. We then went through a pandemic, right? So that brought us a whole bunch of decisions that none of us anticipated. With that, we had people who were learning from home. We came out of a pandemic and we started to get into this enrollment increase. But now we're back to a place where we have enrollment pressures, but across the board it may be flat. It may be increasing in some areas may see those decreases. We're also in a place where probably none of us expected to be talking about is a world of tariffs and the great global uncertainty that we've seen for a number of years, but it really is only getting worse. So I know that, as a board that you're always striving to meet your guiding principles in budgeting and keeping the focus on the learner. I also think it's important just to remind you the history of Richmond and some of that context to always thank past leaders who came before us. And that's why I have a little bit of I'll call it my history bag tonight. So Richmond, both the RTA and the district, when we had full scope local bargaining, we could bargain absolutely everything, including money. That isn't our day today. But when I look back at, 1988, even in 1988, which this represents our first collective agreement, but in that first collective agreement, those parties of the day bargained teacher-librarian ratios, learning assistant ratios, and counseling ratios. And there was a sense of class size at that time. Quickly, fast forward into 1990, and we keep these kind of in our archives if anyone ever wants to come by and have a look. But that collective agreement in 1990 expanded to include ELL staffing ratios, class size limits, composition limits, and school-based team processes. And it is the work of those past leaders and then the work of the teachers to get that language back that really does drive that 50 million more of the Classroom Enhancement Fund. And we can never forget that. And I never want to forget it is that work of all of those past leaders, and just really have that profound thanks. And for the teachers who walked picket lines many times, and what we were fighting for was to get that language back. I also have the newest 2022 to 2025 freshly printed lime green, limeade, I'd call it, collective agreement. It is the latest. The previous one was hot pink. And that's a reminder as well as today's mutual work. And for us, it's local bargaining. We don't get to do any of the money stuff, unfortunately. But I do this right now to remind you because we're actually also in a bargaining year. And that's our opportunity to make improvements to our working conditions and with that, student learning conditions. And this is at the forefront of teachers' minds right now. So keep it in your minds as you do your provincial advocacy, attend provincial meetings, is that language actually does supply supports to students. So the brief that I'm presenting you tonight is not that historical piece, but is always centered on asking for more support. That's more support for teachers and that's more for support for students. The current system continues to be under duress due to underfunding and ever-increasing classroom complexity. And I know that everybody who works in the Richmond School District wants to do our best for the learners and that our focus is on the learners. So I've kept the brief. It's 4 pages. I have that written copy and I'll send an electronic copy tomorrow. But in that request, because we still need more support, is continued support for recruitment and retention strategies. Some of those were talked about tonight. Support for literacy and numeracy initiatives in both elementary and secondary. Continue and expand the Indigenous graduation support. There is a pilot at McNair, and I think that's something that needs to be considered. Make sure those inflationary pressures on the consumable and learning resources, that we watch those, because those are the things that schools need for learners in the classroom and for teachers to do their work. Provide some FTE support for our small secondary schools. You talked about Cambie tonight. That's intense pressure to be able to offer the programs and the diversity and to attract every student from that neighborhood to come to Cambie. Maintain support for Indigenous focused graduation courses and First Peoples Principles of Learning. Support for overcrowded elementary schools. These are more on the capital side. And continued support for sustainability and climate action projects. So those are outlined in the brief with some rationale and links back to your strategic plan. But the RTA does appreciate the board's advocacy, both continued and recent advocacy in your work within Victoria and meetings that you've had with the Minister of Education and Childcare. And the RTA remains ready and committed to work with the board in your continued advocacy. So with that, I say thank you.
Very much. So in my experience, I work as a behavior consultant and work with students. And the one thing I've always felt when I go into schools is, and this talk also refers to going into families, is although the focus is always on the child, as the people around them go, that's how well my kid's going to do. Because if the people who, whether it's the parent or the teacher or the childcare worker, if they're not well supported or well trained, doesn't matter how well my kid is doing that I'm working with, he or she is going to struggle because they're so reliant upon the people around them to provide the guidance and to provide the teaching and you know, all that kind of stuff like that. And so, you know, and it's tough in these nowadays when you're, you know, when you have limited funds and like I say, same thing applies to families I work with. They have to make some really hard choices and they sacrifice and it really shouldn't be that way, but it is. And, you know, in the end of the day, you know, I always tell all of them, we go, you know, we're going to make the best of what we have, but boy, sure it'd help to have a bit more, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, Bonnie, did you want to come up and, as long as it's related to anything on the agenda, you're welcome to come up and, you're welcome to come up anyways. Yeah, come up to the table.
Hey, Chairs. So, the trustees. So my name's Connie, RDPA Chair. So actually, I only have a comments for this about a family with the high school currents for the family of the schools. So because I just received a parent who sent me a message. I think she going to send you the email to superintendent later on. She was very upset about because she suddenly accept that letter from Palmer said her daughter is not accepted in the Palmer because her daughter is in the grade 7 in Garden City. So it's supposed it's current families of the schools. However, the student move to anywhere in Richmond, but the student can be part of the high school way. So suddenly she received a form from a school district that calls campaign form. So that would be make a parent a little bit feel uncomfortable, either me, because she asking me this question. I am very firm and sure if that kids in the elementary school belong to the family, label her. So it would be get into this.
I just want to say that when it comes to sort of individual cases, for privacy reasons, that we don't discuss it or debate it.
I know that's, I just asked for the question. I mean, not the question, please, I just want the school board make parent feel comfortable. I just want to stand on the parent side to bring up this feeling. So because we just suddenly received that notice. So, and then before this case, either me or any parent doesn't know you guys is stop that student because she moved out of the catchment school.
That's part, like as I said, in terms of her privacy, I don't think it's right to have that information sort of in a public forum like this. There is process in place. I mean, usually anything, the general rule I have is anything that happens in the classroom, you need to talk to the teacher about. Anything that happens in the school that you have questions or concerns about, you need to talk to the principal. If there's something within the district that you're not crazy about, whether it be our policies or whatever, then you speak to the superintendent.
Yeah, I think this is belong to policy, right? Because you know what, that make the parent feel the voice is not included because we don't know anything to change in school district. So my suggest it's I hope a school district also the trustees if make any design, please let parent to know. Yeah, I'm not talking about this case. This case is that I think Superintendent Mr. Ushi will be handled it. So I'm not going to worry about this. Yeah, I'm
happy to talk to you afterwards about the individual case, but as for discussing it out here, like this is not the proper forum to be discussing that particular case public.
Okay, so I thank you. So and then I just would let you know, so parents feel upset about you guys just suddenly change. This is the point, okay? Because we don't know what happened. Suddenly get the notice that if you move out the catchment school and then you cannot accept that. Yeah.
Perhaps, like I said, we can talk afterwards. Okay.
Okay, thank you. You have it?
Shed some light. There is policy on this and it can be shared with you after by the superintendent.
Actually, so this picture is already shown labor her school. It's part of the high school.
Policy on student placement. So you would, it can be shared with you after. But I also wanted to remind you that when we have question period, it's supposed to be something that is on the agenda, and student placement is not on the agenda as well. So when we do questions or comments, they're supposed to relate to the board's agenda for the evening.
Okay, I will send the email to superintendent later, so by private though.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yep.
Through the chair, well, first of all, thank you very much for your question. As you've heard from the chair and from trustees tonight, the process for dealing with concerns and complaints, the process is again to follow for parents to go through that process. So if there's a concern about your child or a child in our system, is to contact the school. And if that matter is not resolved at a school level, then then it escalates depending again on what the issues are. So as you can appreciate, we're not able to deal with individual situations in the boardroom for the reasons that have been articulated tonight. So the policy 103 is very clear in terms of our concerns or complaints. So if the parent has a complaint, we have a process for dealing with those complaints. And I would really encourage you to advise those parents and those who are watching tonight that please, the logical step is to contact the school directly if they have a concern. That's the first place it starts. So while I appreciate the fact that you mentioned you'll send an email to me as a superintendent, if I receive such email, it's going back to the school. I would redirect to the school because the principal is the classroom teacher, then the principal dealing with the matter as appropriate. And it's only when it's not resolved at that level, then that it gets in, the assistant superintendents get involved, or I get involved as a superintendent. So that's the process. And I want to thank you in advance for making sure that parents will contact you are aware of that process. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yushi and Superintendent. So I just want to say one more time, this is not about the campaign. It's about the concern. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Happy spring break.
All right, any more questions from the public? Don't see anyone coming up. So, we're gonna move on to item 10, our standing committee reports. Chair people, be prepared. Audit Committee Chairperson David Yang.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We had a meeting Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, and our next meeting is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025.
Education Committee Chairperson Larson.
Thank you. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April the 16th at 6 o'clock.
I'm the Chair of Facilities and Building. Minutes of the meeting held February 5th are attached for information. And the meeting was held Wednesday, March 5th. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April the 2nd at 4:30 p.m. Finance and Legal Chairperson Sargent is not here.
I can,
To what?
yeah, for finance and legal. The next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 16th at 10 a.m.
And you're the Chair of the Policy Committee, and
Yes,
I
I
believe you
am.
have work to do here.
Yeah, a little bit of work. So I have a recommendation that I will move. That the Board of Education approve minor revisions to policy 105 and 105-R District Code of Conduct in accordance with Board Policy 204, creation and revision of policy and regulations, and I'm looking for a second.
Moved to seconded by Trustee Yang.
Okay, and so a little background. This is another one being brought forward for minor revisions with under the DEI lens and the terminology in Indigenous context. And we've been working through a number of these policies, and this is yet another one that's come forward. It has been vetted at the January 13th Policy Committee in camera, and then February 10th, it was brought to the public committee with a draft minor revisions, and there was some feedback. And then February 19th, there was a notice of motion. And so now we're at the recommendation for board approval, the revised policy.
Are there any questions? Trustee Pablotti? Okay, the motion is made, it's been seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, recommendation is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, and then board committee and representative reports. There's nothing to report from council board liaison committee. BCSTA, anyone?
We have provincial council met on Zoom February 22nd in the morning. It was a very interesting meeting. And our annual general meeting will be held April 24th to the 26th.
ECPC, is there anything you want to report? Okay, there is no correspondence. Looking for a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting, moved by trustee Yang, seconded by trustee Larson, all in favor. Thanks, folks, for coming tonight. Drive home safely. Have a good spring break.